4-year-old boy orders pizza from 911. Then the dispatcher notices this and sends police immediately. Officer Sarah Martinez had worked the 911 dispatch center for 12 years, handling everything from minor accidents to life-threatening emergencies. Her colleagues often said she had a sixth sense for trouble, an ability to hear what wasn't being said in a caller's voice. On this particular Wednesday evening, that instinct would prove invaluable. At 35, Sarah was not only a veteran dispatcher but also a mother of 2. Perhaps that's why the small voice that came through her headset at 7:43 p.m. made her heart skip a beat. She had been about to end her shift, her mind already drifting to home, when the call came in. Tommy Watson was an ordinary 4-year-old boy who loved superheroes, dinosaurs, and his mom's special chocolate chip cookies. But there was nothing ordinary about his life at the moment. His mother, Jennifer Watson, a kindergarten teacher at Lincoln Elementary, had been teaching Tommy something very important over the past few weeks: how to use the phone in an emergency. Jennifer had her reasons. Her ex-husband, Mike, had been released from prison 3 months ago after serving time for domestic violence. Despite the restraining order, she had spotted his car in their neighborhood twice in the past week. The sight had sent chills down her spine, reminding her of the bruises she had hidden under long-sleeved shirts and the lies she had told at the emergency room. Their small 2-bedroom apartment in the quiet suburb of Millbrook had always been a safe haven, filled with Tommy's laughter and the smell of fresh-baked cookies. But lately, Jennifer had started double-checking the locks and drawing the curtains as soon as the sun set. She had taught Tommy about emergencies, about when to call 911, and most importantly, about their special code. If anything scary happens, she had told him, ask for a giant pizza with extra cheese. The police will understand. Tommy had nodded solemnly, his blue eyes wide with understanding beyond his years. He had practiced dialing the number on his toy phone, pretending to order pizzas until the sequence became muscle memory for his small fingers. Now, as the autumn sun set outside their apartment windows, casting long shadows across the living room floor, Tommy sat cross-legged behind the kitchen counter, his mother's cell phone clutched in his trembling hands. In the background, he could hear heavy footsteps and his mother's muffled voice, trying to sound calm despite the fear that Tommy could sense in her words. Little did Sarah Martinez know that when she answered this call, she would become part of a story that would change multiple lives forever. 911, what's your emergency? Sarah's voice was warm and professional as she answered the incoming call. Hi. The child's voice was surprisingly clear and articulate for his age. I want to order a really big pizza, please, with extra cheese. Sarah's finger hovered over the disconnect button. Prank calls from children weren't uncommon. But something in the boy's voice made her pause. There was an urgency beneath the cheerful tone, a slight tremor that her maternal instinct couldn't ignore. This is 911, sweetheart. We don't take pizza orders. Are you trying to order dinner? Yes. The boy's voice grew more insistent. A giant pizza. Mom says it has to be giant with lots and lots of extra cheese. It's very important. Sarah's training kicked in. She kept her voice casual, but pressed the alert button on her console, signaling her supervisor. Can you tell me your name, honey? I'm Tommy. I'm 4. There was a pause, and Sarah could hear muffled voices in the background. A woman's voice, tight with tension, and a deeper, angry male voice. That's wonderful, Tommy. Are you at home right now? Yes, we need the pizza right away, Mom says. His voice cut off abruptly, and Sarah heard what sounded like breaking glass in the background. Tommy, are you still there, sweetie? Yes, the boy whispered now. Please hurry with the pizza. Mom says it's an emergency pizza. Sarah's heart raced as she pieced together the situation. She typed rapidly into her computer, tracing the call while keeping Tommy on the line. Her supervisor, now standing behind her, immediately understood and began coordinating with local patrol units. Tommy, you're doing a great job, Sarah said calmly. Can you tell me what kind of toppings you want on your pizza? The question was designed to keep him talking while she gathered more information. In the background, she could hear the male voice growing louder, more aggressive. Just cheese, Tommy whispered. Mom's crying because she doesn't like the man. He's not supposed to be here. Sarah's fingers flew across her keyboard, noting every detail. Tommy, is there someone in your house who's not supposed to be there? Yes, Daddy. Mom says he's not allowed anymore because he's mean. He broke the picture frame. I'm hiding in the kitchen. Sarah signaled frantically to her supervisor. They already had officers en route to the address linked to the phone, but this confirmation of domestic violence would change their response protocol. You're so brave, Tommy, Sarah said, fighting to keep her voice steady. Listen to me carefully. This is a very special pizza delivery, okay? Some police officers are going to bring it. They'll be wearing blue uniforms. When they arrive, they might be a little loud, but don't be scared. They're the good guys, just like your superheroes. Like Superman? Tommy's whisper had a hint of excitement now. Exactly like Superman. Can you stay hidden where you are until they arrive? Yes, Mom taught me this is my special hiding spot. Tommy's voice dropped even lower. The man is yelling really loud now. Mom's saying she'll call the police, but he took her phone. She doesn't know I have the other one. Sarah felt a surge of admiration for both Tommy and his mother. Jennifer had not only taught her son what to do in an emergency, but had also ensured he had access to a phone. She could hear the police sirens in the background of the call now, growing closer. Tommy, I think your pizza is almost there. Remember what I said about it being loud? Just stay in your hiding spot until a police officer finds you. Okay, Tommy whispered. Then, with the pure innocence of a child, he added, will they really bring a pizza? Despite the tension of the moment, Sarah felt a smile tug at her lips. Tell you what, Tommy, you stay safe and I'll make sure you get that pizza. Deal? Deal, he whispered excitedly, just as the sound of sirens filled the background, and the first officers announced their presence at the front door. The inciting incident was about to explode into action, and Sarah knew that the next few minutes would be crucial for Tommy, his mother, and everyone involved. As police officers breached the apartment, the situation unfolded rapidly. Officer James Chen, first through the door, immediately spotted Mike Watson in the living room, his hand raised threateningly toward Jennifer. The scene froze for a split second. Broken glass on the floor, an overturned lamp, and Jennifer backed against the wall with a fresh bruise forming on her cheek. But what the officers discovered next stopped them in their tracks. As they secured Mike and checked on Jennifer, Officer Chen heard a small voice from the kitchen. Is the pizza here? Following the sound, Chen found Tommy crouched in a small alcove between the refrigerator and the wall, clutching a cell phone and peering out bravely. The hiding spot had been cleverly designed, a small space just big enough for a child, partially hidden by a hanging dish towel. Hey there, buddy, Chen said softly, kneeling down. I'm Officer Chen. Are you Tommy? Tommy nodded solemnly. Sarah said you were bringing a special pizza. Chen's radio crackled with Sarah's voice. She was still on the line with Tommy. Officer Chen. Tommy's been incredibly brave. He called 911 using a code word his mother taught him. The pizza order was their signal for danger. The revelation hit Chen hard. This wasn't just a domestic violence call. It was a story of remarkable preparation and courage. Jennifer had not only taught her son what to do in an emergency, but had created a system he could understand and execute at his young age. As Tommy emerged from his hiding spot, Jennifer broke free from the officer checking her injuries and ran to her son, gathering him in her arms. You did it, baby, she whispered through tears. You did exactly what we practiced. The officers discovered more as they processed the scene. A second cell phone, kept charged in Tommy's hiding spot. A small backpack with snacks and a favorite stuffed animal. A list of important phone numbers written in child-friendly pictures rather than numbers. Jennifer had thought of everything, preparing her son while maintaining his sense of security. We found these in the suspect's car, another officer reported, holding up a bag containing duct tape, rope, and a handwritten plan to kidnap both Jennifer and Tommy. The discovery sent chills through everyone present. Mike hadn't just come to confront Jennifer. He had come with much darker intentions. Sarah, still listening through Tommy's phone, felt tears rolling down her cheeks. A 4-year-old's understanding of pizza delivery had likely prevented a tragedy. Tommy, she said through the phone, you're a real superhero, you know that? Tommy, still clutched in his mother's arms, smiled. Like Superman? Even better, Sarah replied. "You're Tommy the Brave." As Mike Watson was led away in handcuffs, cursing and struggling, Officer Chen made a decision. He stepped outside and made a quick phone call to his brother, who owned a local pizzeria. The revelation of Jennifer's careful preparation, Tommy's brave execution of their plan, and the darker discovery of Mike's intentions would change how the police department approached domestic violence cases. But for now, there was a promise to keep to a very special 4-year-old hero. Within 30 minutes, the apartment was filled with the smell of fresh pizza, extra large, with extra cheese, just as Tommy had ordered. Sarah Martinez sat in her car outside the Watsons' apartment complex, a decision weighing heavily on her mind. Her shift had ended hours ago, but she couldn't shake the connection she felt to the little boy who had ordered a giant emergency pizza. After discussing it with her supervisor, she had made a choice that would have far-reaching consequences. She climbed the stairs to the Watsons' apartment, where officers were still processing the scene. Jennifer and Tommy had been moved to a neighbor's apartment for the time being, and that's where Sarah found them. Tommy was contentedly eating his pizza, while Jennifer spoke with a domestic violence counselor. "Sarah!" Tommy exclaimed, recognizing her voice immediately. "You're the pizza lady." Sarah smiled, kneeling down to his level. "That's right, buddy. I wanted to come meet my favorite pizza customer in person." Looking at Jennifer's bruised face and Tommy's remarkable resilience, Sarah shared her decision. "I'd like to help you tell your story," she said. "Not just to the police, but to other families who might need to know that even a 4-year-old can be a hero." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. "You think it could help others?" "I know it could," Sarah responded firmly. "Your preparation, Tommy's bravery, it could be a model for other families in similar situations." The consequences of Sarah's decision began to ripple outward immediately. With Jennifer's permission, Sarah worked with the police department's community outreach program to develop a new training protocol for families at risk of domestic violence. They called it the Pizza Protocol, a system of teaching young children how to call for help using age-appropriate code words. Tommy, with his mother's support, became the face of the program. His story was shared in parent groups and schools, teaching other parents how to prepare their children without frightening them. The image of the brave 4-year-old who ordered an emergency pizza resonated with other children, making them more receptive to learning about personal safety. The consequences extended to the police department as well. Officer Chen, moved by Tommy's hiding spot and the careful preparation that had gone into it, worked with local carpenters to design similar safe spaces for children in homes at risk. These Tommy corners, as they came to be known, included hidden compartments for phones and emergency supplies. For Jennifer and Tommy, the decision to share their story had both positive and challenging consequences. While they received an outpouring of support from the community, they also had to relive their trauma as they helped develop the training materials. Jennifer sometimes questioned whether they were doing the right thing by keeping their story in the public eye. But then they would receive letters from other families, stories of children who had remembered Tommy's pizza story and knew what to do in their own emergencies. Stories of parents who had created similar safety plans for their kids. Each letter confirmed that their vulnerability was helping others find strength. Sarah's decision also affected her personally. She began spending more time with the Watsons, eventually becoming like family to them. Her own children formed a close bond with Tommy, and she found herself increasingly involved in domestic violence prevention work. The program expanded beyond their city. Other police departments reached out, wanting to implement their own versions of the Pizza Protocol. Sarah found herself traveling to training sessions, sharing Tommy's story, and helping other dispatchers learn to recognize coded calls for help from children. 1 year after Tommy's emergency pizza order, Sarah sat in the audience at a community safety awards ceremony. Tommy, now 5, stood on stage with his mother, receiving an award for their contribution to public safety. As she watched the confident little boy accept his certificate, Sarah reflected on the consequences of her decision. The Pizza Protocol had helped dozens of families escape dangerous situations. Tommy's story had inspired other children to be brave and other parents to be prepared. The program had even led to changes in how 911 dispatchers were trained to handle calls from children. But perhaps the most significant consequence was less tangible. Tommy's story had shown that even the smallest among us could be heroes, that preparation and courage could come in the most unexpected packages, and that sometimes the simplest ideas, like ordering a pizza, could save lives. As Tommy spotted her in the audience and waved enthusiastically, Sarah felt tears in her eyes. Her decision to help share their story had created a ripple effect of positive change that continued to grow. It hadn't always been easy, but seeing Tommy smile, seeing Jennifer standing tall and proud beside her son, Sarah knew it had been the right choice. The consequences of that decision would continue to unfold, touching more lives and saving more families. All because a 4-year-old boy had been brave enough to order a very special pizza, and a 911 dispatcher had been wise enough to listen. While the Pizza Protocol program continued to grow, a parallel story was unfolding in the life of Officer James Chen. The discovery of Tommy's carefully planned hiding spot had sparked something in him, leading him to investigate other aspects of domestic violence prevention. Working with his brother Tony, the pizzeria owner who had delivered Tommy's emergency pizza, Chen began developing a network of safe businesses, places where children and adults could go if they needed help. They called it the Safe Slice Network, and it started with Tony's Pizzeria. Every kid knows what a pizza place looks like, Tony explained to his staff during training. If they're scared or need help, they can come in and ask for a special delivery. That's our signal to contact the police. The idea spread quickly through the community. Other restaurants joined the network, then retail stores, then libraries. Each location had staff trained to recognize coded requests for help and respond appropriately. The distinctive Safe Slice sticker in their windows became a symbol of hope for those in need. Meanwhile, Jennifer Watson had begun counseling other survivors of domestic violence, sharing her experience of preparing Tommy for emergencies without traumatizing him. Her approach of using everyday scenarios, like ordering pizza, to create safety plans resonated with other parents struggling to protect their children. The secondary plot lines intertwined at unexpected moments. One day, a young mother walked into Tony's Pizzeria with 2 small children, asking for a special delivery with extra cheese. The staff, trained under the Safe Slice protocol, recognized the code and contacted the police. Another family was saved, another link added to the chain of protection that had started with Tommy's brave phone call. Officer Chen's involvement in the Safe Slice network led him to discover other gaps in the system. He began working with school counselors to implement age-appropriate safety training for students. The programs used Tommy's story as a starting point, teaching children that being brave sometimes meant asking for help. Sarah continued to receive updates about these developing initiatives, watching with satisfaction as the ripple effects of Tommy's call spread through the community. She observed how each new program seemed to inspire another, creating a web of support and safety that grew stronger with each connection. The media began to take notice of these grassroots efforts. Local news stations ran stories about the Safe Slice Network, featuring interviews with Tony Chen about how his brother's police work had inspired this community safety initiative. "It's not just about pizza anymore," Tony explained to reporters. "It's about creating a network of safe spaces where people know they can get help without drawing attention to themselves." The publicity brought unexpected attention from national organizations working to prevent domestic violence. They were particularly interested in how the program used everyday situations, like ordering pizza, to create safety protocols that children could understand and remember. Social workers began incorporating the Safe Slice concept into their safety planning with at-risk families. Maps were created showing all participating businesses, and children were taught to recognize the special window stickers that marked these safe havens. As these secondary initiatives developed, they created a comprehensive support system that extended far beyond the original pizza protocol. What had started with a brave 4-year-old's phone call had evolved into a community-wide movement for change. The months following Tommy's emergency call saw the development of several significant relationships that would prove crucial to the program's success and the healing of those involved. Sarah and Jennifer formed a deep friendship, bonded by their shared commitment to helping others and their roles as mothers. They often met for coffee, discussing ways to improve the pizza protocol and sharing stories about their children. "I never thought that night would lead to all this," Jennifer confided during one of their meetings. "Tommy doesn't just have a safety plan anymore, he has a whole community watching out for him." Tommy himself developed special relationships with both Officer Chen and Tony. The pizzeria became his favorite after-school spot, where Tony taught him how to toss pizza dough, and Chen would stop by during his patrol breaks to check on his young friend. The bond between Tommy and Chen was particularly touching. The officer had taken the boy under his wing, becoming a positive male role model in Tommy's life. Chen taught Tommy about police work in age-appropriate ways, always emphasizing that being brave meant knowing when to ask for help. "You're my partner now," Chen would tell Tommy, making the boy beam with pride. And partners look out for each other. The relationship between the Chen brothers also deepened as they worked together on the Safe Slice network. Their collaboration helped heal old family rifts and created a powerful partnership between law enforcement and local business. "Who would have thought pizza would bring us back together?" Tony joked during a training session. But beneath the humor was genuine gratitude for the renewed connection with his brother. Sarah watched these relationships flourish, seeing how they strengthened the foundation of their community safety initiatives. The personal connections made the programs more effective, as people were more likely to trust and use resources when they knew the faces behind them. Jennifer's relationship with other domestic violence survivors grew as she continued her counseling work. She found that sharing her story helped others open up about their own experiences, creating a support network that extended beyond formal programs. "When I tell them about Tommy's bravery," she explained to Sarah, "it helps them see that their children can be part of the solution rather than just victims to be protected." Even the relationship between the police department and the community began to shift. The Pizza Protocol and Safe Slice network had created new channels of communication and trust. People began to see law enforcement not just as responders to emergencies, but as partners in prevention. Tommy's relationship with his own trauma also evolved. Through play therapy and the support of his extended family, he began to process his experiences in healthy ways. His natural resilience, combined with the positive relationships in his life, helped him maintain his cheerful spirit while developing a mature understanding of safety and courage. The most profound relationship development was perhaps the one between all the various components of the community safety network. Police, businesses, social workers, and survivors worked together in ways they never had before, creating an integrated support system that was greater than the sum of its parts. Sarah observed these evolving relationships with a sense of wonder. What had started as a desperate emergency call had grown into a web of connections that made the entire community stronger and safer. During a celebration marking the first anniversary of the Pizza Protocol, Tommy stood between Officer Chen and Tony, proudly wearing a small police badge that Chen had given him. Jennifer and Sarah watched from nearby, their own friendship a testament to how crisis could lead to connection. "Look at them," Sarah said softly. "Who would have thought a pizza order could build so many bridges?" Jennifer squeezed her friend's hand. "It wasn't just the pizza," she replied. "It was people like you who were willing to listen and care. That's what really builds relationships." As they watched Tommy demonstrating his pizza-tossing skills to an admiring audience, both women felt grateful for the unexpected bonds that had grown from that frightening night. These relationships had not only helped heal past trauma, but had created a foundation for preventing future tragedies. The climactic moment of their journey came 1 year after Tommy's famous 911 call during a national conference on community safety. The Pizza Protocol and Safe Slice network had gained national attention, and Sarah, Jennifer, and Officer Chen had been invited to present their program to law enforcement agencies from across the country. As they prepared for their presentation, news broke that sent shockwaves through the audience. A 7-year-old girl in Seattle had used the pizza protocol, which she had learned about through social media, to save herself and her younger siblings from an abusive situation. "I want to order a giant pizza," the girl had told the 911 dispatcher, just as Tommy had done. The dispatcher, who had read about the protocol, immediately understood and sent help. The timing couldn't have been more powerful. As Sarah took the stage to present their program, she could feel the electricity in the room. This was no longer just a local success story. It was proof that their approach could work anywhere. Tommy and Jennifer joined her on stage, along with Officer Chen and Tony. But the real surprise came when they invited the Seattle family to join them via video call. The 7-year-old girl, named Lucy, got to meet Tommy for the first time. "You taught me how to be brave," Lucy told Tommy, her voice carrying clearly through the conference center speakers. "When I was scared, I remembered the story about the boy who ordered a pizza to save his mom." Tommy, now 5 and much more confident, replied with wisdom beyond his years. "Being brave is like ordering pizza. Sometimes you just have to do it, even if you're scared." The audience, composed of hardened law enforcement professionals, was visibly moved. But the most powerful moment was yet to come. Sarah revealed their latest initiative, a national database and training program that would standardize code words and responses across all emergency dispatch centers. The pizza protocol would no longer be just a local program. It would be a coordinated national system for helping children in danger. "Today," Sarah announced, her voice strong with emotion, "we're launching the National Safe Child Initiative based on the lessons we learned from one brave little boy and his pizza order." The conference hall erupted in applause as Tommy pressed the button to officially launch the program's website. On the screen behind them, a map of the United States lit up, showing all the jurisdictions that had already committed to implementing the protocol. Jennifer, watching her son stand proudly on stage, felt tears roll down her cheeks. Their personal tragedy had transformed into something powerful and positive, something that would help countless other families. Officer Chen stepped forward to make the final announcement. The Safe Slice network was going national as well, with major restaurant chains and retail stores committing to join the program. The distinctive window sticker that had started in Tony's Pizzeria would soon be recognized across the country as a symbol of safety and hope. As the presentation concluded with a standing ovation, Sarah looked at the unlikely family they had formed. A 911 dispatcher, a domestic violence survivor and her brave son, a dedicated police officer, and a pizzeria owner who had turned his business into a safe haven. Together, they had turned a desperate emergency call into a movement that would save lives for years to come. Their story had reached its climactic moment, but they all knew it was really just the beginning of something much bigger. In the weeks following the national conference, the team faced their biggest challenge yet: implementing the pizza protocol and Safe Slice network on a national scale while maintaining its effectiveness and personal touch. The process of resolving these challenges would test their creativity and commitment. The first major conflict arose when some law enforcement agencies expressed concerns about standardizing emergency codes. They worried that if the codes became too well known, abusers might recognize them. Sarah and her team had to find a way to address this valid concern while preserving the program's accessibility to children. "The key," Sarah explained during a planning session, "is to make the protocol flexible enough to adapt to different situations while keeping its core simplicity." They developed a system where each community could choose its own code words, while maintaining the basic framework that had worked so well with Tommy's pizza order. Jennifer took the lead in working with domestic violence organizations to ensure the program remained trauma-informed. She knew firsthand how important it was to prepare children without traumatizing them further. "We're not teaching them to be afraid," she emphasized during training sessions. "We're empowering them with tools they can understand and remember." Officer Chen faced his own challenges in coordinating with police departments across the country. Many were resistant to changing their established procedures. He found himself sharing Tommy's story again and again, helping his fellow officers understand the importance of child-friendly emergency responses. "Imagine if the dispatcher had hung up on Tommy that night," he would say. "Every child deserves a chance to be heard, even if they're asking for pizza." Tony's expansion of the Safe Slice network brought its own set of complications. As major chains joined the program, there were concerns about maintaining quality training and genuine commitment to the cause. Tony insisted on personally overseeing the development of training materials and protocols. "This isn't about publicity," he reminded corporate executives. "It's about creating real safe spaces where people know they can get help." The team worked tirelessly to resolve these conflicts, often meeting late into the night at Tony's pizzeria. Tommy would sometimes join them, providing unexpected insights from a child's perspective. His presence reminded them why they were working so hard to get it right. A breakthrough came when they decided to create a tiered implementation system. Communities could start with basic protocols and gradually add more complex elements as their programs developed. This flexible approach helped resolve many of the conflicts around standardization and training. Sarah focused on developing dispatcher training that would help other 911 operators recognize coded calls for help. Not just the specific words, but the subtle cues she had picked up in Tommy's voice that night. "Sometimes it's not what they say, but how they say it," she explained to her trainees. "We need to listen with our hearts as well as our ears." The resolution process wasn't always smooth. There were heated debates, setbacks, and moments of frustration. But the team's shared commitment to their mission helped them work through each challenge. Jennifer and Tommy's story remained at the heart of their efforts. When conflicts arose, they would remind themselves and others of the real lives at stake. The Seattle success story helped too, proving that their program could work beyond their local community. As solutions emerged and the program began to take shape on a national level, they found that many of their initial concerns had actually helped strengthen the protocol. The challenges had forced them to think more deeply about every aspect of the program. They developed a comprehensive approach that included flexible code words that could be adapted for different communities, standardized dispatcher training focused on recognizing calls from children, rigorous certification process for Safe Slice network participants, age-appropriate educational materials for schools and families, regular program evaluation and updates based on real-world experiences. Perhaps the most significant resolution came in the form of a national database that would help dispatchers share information and experiences while maintaining confidentiality. This system would allow the program to learn and grow from each new case while protecting the privacy of those involved. As the team watched their program take shape on a national level, they felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They had faced their challenges head-on and found solutions that would help protect children across the country. Tommy, watching the program grow from his unique perspective, summed it up best during one of their meetings. "It's like making a really big pizza," he said thoughtfully. "You have to get all the ingredients just right, but when you do, it's perfect." His simple analogy made them all smile, reminding them once again that sometimes the most profound solutions come from the simplest sources. 2 years after Tommy's initial 911 call, the pizza protocol reached a significant turning point. What had started as a local emergency response strategy had evolved into a comprehensive national child safety program. But now it was about to take an unexpected new direction. During a routine follow-up meeting with families who had used the protocol, Sarah noticed something remarkable. Children who had successfully used the program weren't just surviving their traumatic experiences. They were becoming advocates and leaders in their own right. These kids are like Tommy, she realized. They want to help others the way they were helped. This observation led to the creation of the Little Heroes Network, a new initiative that would change the program's focus from purely emergency response to active community building and prevention. The Little Heroes Network would connect children who had used the protocol with others who might need it, always under careful adult supervision and with appropriate safeguards. Tommy would serve as the first senior hero, helping other children understand that bravery comes in many forms. Sometimes being brave means asking for help. Tommy told a group of younger children at the network's first meeting. And sometimes it means helping others ask for help too. This new direction expanded the program's scope beyond emergency situations. The Little Heroes Network began organizing community events, creating child-led safety workshops, and developing peer support systems in schools. Sarah, Jennifer, and the Chen brothers watched in amazement as their program transformed once again, this time led by the very children it had been designed to protect. The turning point had revealed a powerful truth. Children who felt empowered to help others were better able to heal from their own trauma. As they prepared to launch this new phase of the program, Sarah reflected on how far they had come from that first pizza order. What had started as one child's brave call for help had grown into a movement that was changing how communities approach child safety and emergency response. The Little Heroes Network represented more than just a new direction. It was a testament to the resilience of children and their capacity to transform fear into strength, trauma into triumph. Tommy, now 6 years old and proud of his role as senior hero, summed up their new direction perfectly. "We're not just ordering pizza anymore," he said with a grin. "We're delivering hope." As the third anniversary of Tommy's emergency pizza order approached, each person involved in the program took time to reflect on their personal growth and the changes they had witnessed. Sarah, sitting in her dispatch center chair where it all began, marveled at how much her perspective on emergency response had evolved. She had always been good at her job, but now she approached each call with a deeper understanding of the courage it takes to ask for help, especially for a child. "Every call is a potential pizza order," she often told new dispatchers during training. "We have to listen not just with our ears, but with our hearts." Jennifer's transformation had been perhaps the most profound. From a frightened victim of domestic violence, she had grown into a powerful advocate and mentor. Her work with other survivors and their children had given her a sense of purpose she never thought possible. "Tommy didn't just save us that night," she reflected during a support group meeting. "He showed us that even the smallest voice can create huge changes." Tommy himself had grown from a scared 4-year-old into a confident young leader. His role in the Little Heroes Network had helped him process his own trauma while developing natural leadership abilities that amazed everyone who knew him. Officer Chen found that his approach to police work had fundamentally changed. He now specialized in cases involving children, using the lessons learned from Tommy to help other young victims feel safe and heard. Sometimes, he would say, the bravest thing a police officer can do is listen to a child asking for pizza. Tony had transformed his pizzeria into more than just a safe haven. It had become a community center where families could find support, resources, and hope. He had discovered a calling that went far beyond making pizza. The Little Heroes themselves showed remarkable growth. Children who had once been victims were now helping others, their own experiences becoming sources of strength and wisdom. Lucy, the girl from Seattle who had used the protocol after learning about Tommy's story, had become one of the network's most active members. "Being brave isn't about not being scared," she would tell new members. "It's about doing what's right, even when you are scared." The program itself had grown and evolved beyond anyone's expectations. What started as a simple code word had developed into a comprehensive support system that combined emergency response, prevention, healing, and community building. Sarah often found herself watching Tommy during Little Heroes meetings, remembering the small, frightened voice that had asked for a pizza 3 years ago. The growth she saw in him reflected the growth she saw in herself and in the program. "We all had to learn to be brave in different ways," she thought. "Tommy taught us that bravery doesn't have to be big or dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as asking for help in a way that feels safe." As they prepared for the annual Pizza Protocol Conference, each person involved could see how far they had come. Their individual growth had contributed to the program's evolution, and the program's success had fostered their personal development. The scared little boy who once hid behind a refrigerator was now teaching other children about courage. The mother who had lived in fear was now helping other women find their strength. The dispatcher who answered a strange pizza order had become a nationwide trainer in recognizing coded calls for help. "Sometimes I look at old photos," Jennifer shared during a reflection session, "and I barely recognize that frightened woman I used to be. Tommy's bravery didn't just save us that night, it showed me how to be brave too." Sarah nodded in agreement. That's what's so amazing about this program. It's not just about emergency response anymore. It's about transformation, turning victims into survivors and survivors into leaders. Officer Chen, who had responded to countless domestic violence calls throughout his career, found his perspective fundamentally changed. "Before Tommy's call, I saw these situations in black and white. Now I understand the complexities, especially when children are involved. Sometimes the biggest heroes are the smallest ones." Tony's growth was reflected in his business approach. His pizzeria had become more than a restaurant. It was a symbol of community safety and support. "Every pizza we make," he would say, "is a reminder that sometimes help comes in unexpected ways." But perhaps the most profound growth was seen in the ripple effects their program had created. Other children, inspired by Tommy's story, had found their own ways to be brave. Parents had learned to prepare their children without frightening them. Communities had discovered new ways to protect their most vulnerable members. As they prepared for another year of the program, each of them could see how far they had come from that fateful night. They had grown not just as individuals, but as a community, proving that even the darkest situations could lead to light. On the third anniversary of Tommy's emergency pizza order, the team gathered at Tony's pizzeria for a special celebration. The walls were covered with photos and newspaper clippings documenting their journey, but the centerpiece was a simple crayon drawing by Tommy, a pizza with the words, "Heroes come in all sizes," written across the box. As they shared memories and pizza, the themes that had defined their journey emerged clearly. The power of a child's courage, the importance of listening with both head and heart, and the way small actions could create massive change. "You know what I've learned?" Tommy asked, now a wise 7-year-old. "Being brave isn't about being big or strong. It's about helping people, even if you're scared." Sarah looked around at their unlikely family. The boy who ordered a pizza, the mother who taught him how, the dispatcher who listened, the officer who understood, and the brother who made their safe haven real. Each had played a crucial role in creating something remarkable. "Sometimes," she said, raising her glass in a toast, "the biggest changes start with the smallest voices. Here's to pepperoni, extra cheese, and all the brave little heroes who remind us that help can come in many forms." As they celebrated together, they knew their story would continue to inspire others, proving that even in the darkest moments, a child's simple request for pizza could light the way to safety, healing, and hope.